What is up, Only Playbook fans? We are back for our weekly episode. We are recapping the divisional round. Two games this weekend. 4 games that we have to recap. All 4 games were fantastic. We'll talk all about it. I'm Sweetcar. I got Shovit and Shishot today. What is going on, guys? Football is wrapping up so quickly, and I just don't want to get to that dreaded week where we're like, oh, Super Bowl recap. What do we do now?
Doing pretty good, man. It was fun. We watched Sunday football together, Sukar. So that was fun. Saw the Cowboys have to be sent home, and with a lot of Cowboy fans, our family members being Cowboys fans. So that was fun. It was a good weekend. Good weekend.
Yeah. We get to all hang out in 2 days. So I'm just looking forward to my misery ending soon and getting to some fun times.
Yeah, it's good to
Hell
have you
yeah,
finally
dude.
on the podcast.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. We try to hold it down while you're gone, but 2 days we have Sandman's bachelor party in Colorado. So, and we're going to record together, which I realize we're going to have to do separately, but it's also the first time we're recording from the same place in like shit over a year. Remember
Yeah.
when we were like recording in person together and we're like, we're not going to do virtual. Virtual sucks. In person is so much better. And now it's like, what is in person? I forgot what that's like.
Yeah. So much better though. It is really so
Yeah.
much better.
Yeah, Shovik, you could go above and beyond and pack all 3 mics and all in your mixer, and we just do it like in the same room. But that seems like a really, really hard task. So there's no pressure if you decide you don't want to do that.
If it wasn't for like Frontier Airlines not
Oh
allowing
God,
bags,
yeah.
it would be in a heartbeat. I would check in and do that. But that would be so much fun. I miss those days for sure.
They're one of the few airlines that'd probably charge you like $10 per mic. You know how they just tack on money for everything that you do.
Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. It'll be fun to be in person. It'll be fun to hang out. It'll be fun to recap this football weekend. And then we also will get to watch the championship weekend together as well. So I'm freaking ecstatic about that. We have to recap the divisional round before we can get to previewing the championship round. So let's get into it, guys, with water cooler talk. Couple things I want to note before we get into the action. Another coaching change or hiring change. Patriots are hiring Bill O'Brien as their offensive coordinator. O'Brien is a familiar name in the NFL. Obviously, he was with the Patriots for 4 years from 07 to 11. Ironically, you think about that timeline and it's like, oh, the Patriots are winning a Super Bowl every other year, right? But that 4-year window, the Patriots did not win a Super Bowl. So I was looking back. I was like, okay, he probably was part of one of the championship teams, but he was not. It was like the one window where they did not win. So interesting that that's the guy that they're deciding to bring back. But he did serve as their offensive assistant, their wide receivers coach, their quarterbacks coach, and then eventually their offensive coordinator as well. So he has experience there. And right now he is Alabama's quarterback / offensive coordinator. So he's obviously got a good track record. So it'll be interesting to see if he can unleash Mac Jones or if Mac Jones is who everybody thinks he is.
Yeah, wasn't he the coach when Mac Jones was playing too? So he's got firsthand experience of how to, coach this guy. Hopefully.
So he was not when Mac Jones was there. So he started in Bama in 21. I think Mac Jones Mac Jones was drafted that year. So I'm pretty sure, right? Because Mac Jones wasn't a rookie. This is his 2nd year this year. Yeah.
Mhm.
And Bill O'Brien's he's only spent 1 year there because he was coaching the Texans from like 14 to 20. He was their head coach. So
Yeah.
I don't think they overlap, but yeah, regardless, he's still going to have that familiarity being from Bama, et cetera. And they're running the same type of offense that they were when Mac Jones was there. So he's definitely going to have that edge. We talked about it right before we started recording, but I have it on here to talk about anyways. Tom Brady just not knowing about his future, but not knowing about his future in such a weird way that, again, I could spend a lot of time talking about this, but I'm not going to. But his reaction when Jim Gray, who, again, they're on a podcast together. They do a podcast together. So it's not like he's guest starring on a random podcast with somebody that he doesn't really know that well that decides to just kind of poke the bear. But all Jim Gray asks on the podcast is, Tom, have you given any thought to what you're going to do about your future? And Brady's reaction is, if I knew what I was going to fucking do, I would have already fucking done it. And it's just, I don't care. Like, obviously people are going to ask, like, it's the talk of the town in the NFL. When Brady retires, it's going to be monumental. So every year he's a free agent or we don't know what we're going to do. It's like the Brett Favre, but elevated because Brady's a GOAT, right? But I just think, again, if he didn't know that was going to get asked, that's weird for Jim Gray. But if he knew that was going to get asked, is he just kind of doing it to continue to be part of the headlines? Or am I just kind of reading too much into this? It's just Brady being Brady.
I think you're reading a little bit too much into it. I think Brady just knows he can just say whatever he wants, and he had a little lapse of, he's not as good as Aaron Rodgers in one thing, and that's podcasting. So Aaron Rodgers knows how to say everything appropriately. He knows when to like reel it in when he needs to, when to start some rumors when he needs to. But I think Tom Brady just got a little irritated. That seemed like a very rash thing to say, and like a lot of the people, like a lot of people that don't really know Tom Brady outside of his winning ways, they hear that and they're like, "This guy's an asshole. Like, why am I supporting this guy?" You know what I mean? Like, that was not a nice thing to say by any means. Everybody on that podcast was like, "Oh, okay, sorry, must have rubbed you the wrong way there."
Yeah, but I mean, he lost Giselle, and he's in shambles. Where do I go? What am I gonna do? And I've been thinking about where he might play, and this is like a perfect storm for him to go to Las Vegas. I feel like the Raiders.
Just
They've
retire,
lost
bro.
Derek
Just
Carr. I mean,
retire.
yeah, he could do that too. But if he's going to play, I think the Raiders may be a good chance. But yeah, we'll see where he ends up landing.
At this point, like I know I'm annoyed with Brady and it's like, dude, just retire, but he's 45 and there's kind of a chance, outside chance that he could play another 5 years. So how crazy would it be to see a 50-year-old quarterback in the NFL? Like I almost want him to keep playing just for that. He might like literally be like one hit away from dying at that point, but he is still 45 and like take Tom Brady and that out of it. Like we think of like everyday 45-year-olds, they're playing as quarterback in the NFL getting hit. Like that's kind of insane, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
45.
But look at his numbers this year. They weren't that great. He kind of played really bad, and that's because he didn't have that perfect offensive line he's had his whole career, and it's kind of showing now. And is he going to go to the Raiders and potentially he needs to go to a top 5 offensive line team. So like maybe they trade Jared Goff and then to some other team and then put him in the Lions or something weird like that, which they won't do that. But it's
Right.
it's going to be only those type of situations that he's going to agree to play. But I think he's not going to play. I have a feeling he's not going to play. I don't know why. I just have this weird feeling he's not going to play. Greg Olson, I think he can get like re-signed for that Fox contract, and he's already doing really well. But there's a spot open, I believe, and I think it's like nearly $400 million contract or something like that. And
Jesus.
I think he may just take that. I don't know why he wouldn't take that. Maybe he just loves the game that much. But it just seems right that he just lets the younger people look at who's in the AFC Championship game and stuff. We're going to talk about that here shortly, but this thing is just filled with the young people. It's the game of the young people who can run around and make things happen. And we saw this year. Just sometimes you just got to know when to call it quits.
Yeah, shove it. Anything to add to that?
I mean, I'm just thinking more and more into this Raiders thing, and I'm like Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfro, like
Josh Jacobs is a free agent though.
I mean, they can get him back, right? They get him back. That team with Tom Brady, I feel like that's scary. I
I
would
don't
be
know,
afraid.
man.
If I was
I
in.
don't know if
I
Tom
think he's
Brady's that big of an upgrade from Derek Carr as far as at this point in his career. Like we're talking.
sure.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and
I don't
he's
know.
gonna be with the offensive. He's gonna be with the head coach that was the offense coordinator in Patriots, right? So it's
Yeah.
like this perfect matchup. There's like it's a beautiful place for him to go to just because of what the personnel that they have and the coach. I feel like that needs to happen. But because all the other teams, like we talked about Miami, like Tua's pretty good, so I don't think that they'll do that. San Francisco, like Brock Purdy is kind of coming up. I just don't see anywhere else in the NFL that would be a better fit for him than the Raiders, personally.
Yeah. Plus, he's recently single. Where else do you want to live than Vegas when you're single, right? Like, I
Oh dear
mean,
God.
that's got to add to that factor for sure. And again, Vegas is like the spotlight for events and stuff like that. And Brady just seems like the guy that's going to be around all the time and just want to keep feeding his own ego. So I could see it. It does make a lot of sense on all fronts. Enough about Tom Brady, guys. He didn't play football this weekend. Why are we talking so much about him? Let's talk about the players that did play with the rundown. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Shoshot, your beloved Jaguars, that bet that could have come to fruition. They were so close. They traveled to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs in what already seemed like a insurmountable position for them to be in. They were underdogs, 8.5-point underdogs. They did cover the spread. They kept the game close. 27-20 was the final. The Chiefs win this game under 53 cashes. Before we get into anything, I think the story of this game is obviously Patrick Mahomes and his health. Patrick Mahomes gets sacked, he gets tackled, and I don't know who the player was, but he falls on Mahomes' ankle, and Mahomes' ankle ultimately looks like it's bent sideways. Mahomes ends up, finishing that drive and then has to come out, gets sent to the locker room. You see visible frustration, and then eventually he comes back in the game. And then the very first play he comes back in the game that he scrambles, immediately after one scramble, doesn't even get hit, he's hobbling again. So before we get into anything, Shishot, being the doctor here, talk me through this injury and, one, how wild it is that he stayed on the field, was arguing to stay on the field. We hear this injury and we already kind of know the timetable, but like, what does it mean for him to have played, come back in the game, and then obviously he's going to play next week, and what's that going to look like?
I think there's some shady stuff that's happening. That's
Oh
what I think.
no, here we
Yeah,
go. Here we go.
yeah, because that's a pretty big injury. Unless he's injured that ankle the same way before, those ligaments aren't supposed to move like that. And so he injured it pretty significantly. Like that's a big injury, and we're never gonna get to see like his watch. He's gonna have like everything's gonna be covered up. You're not gonna get to see any skin in that area because it's bruised up, I'm sure, and it's probably really swollen. And what happens inside the blue tent stays inside the blue tent, right? So he probably got like some sort of cortisone shot or like a Toradol shot, some sort of pain shot, just so he can finish that game. And we haven't seen very much talks of like practice and like this and that. I haven't seen any videos of Mahomes running around throwing because he can't. The dude's in pain, and they know that they need him this game. So they're going to try to put him out there. It's a must win. This isn't just like a game to go to the playoffs. Even you're already in the playoffs. This is a game to go to the Super Bowl, right? So it's a big deal, and I'm pretty sure Patrick Mahomes. It's not. This isn't a coach decision. I'm sure Patrick Mahomes himself is like, "No, man, like do whatever you need to do, inject this shit," and then the doctor's gonna be like, "Are you sure you got to sign this paperwork? Because if your ankle gets fucked up in the future, you can't sue me." And Patrick Mahomes probably like, "Do it. I got to win another Super Bowl," right? So it's that type of situation. Unfortunately, I'm just speculating here, but when I look at that injury and I look at how his ankle turned, that's a clear cut high ankle sprain. And we're talking weeks, we're talking months of either not getting back on the field or some sort of just not coming back on the field to start a game. Okay, so it was already shocking to me. I thought after Henny came in, and by the way, longest Chiefs drive of the season, 98 yards and a touchdown, right? So I was like, not even phased. I'm like, this is Andy Reid's offense.
System quarterback Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's a system quarterback to an extent, but Patrick Mahomes is just next level. But I was like, you know what? Maybe this offense is just that good that we don't even need some of those flashy plays because it's just systematically just so well thought out. And then Patrick Mahomes comes back in and just does more Patrick Mahomes thing, and you're like, oh wait, yeah, that's why he needs to be there. But yeah, it's a bad injury. Most players during the regular season would not have came back and played. But because you're going for the big trophy here, I mean, sometimes you got to do these weird things. I would not recommend it. Not recommending it if anybody's
high high ankle sprains that we talk about in the regular season usually is like a 3-4 week timetable, right? And
it
so
varies. High ankle sprain is such a weird thing to say because it depends on where on the ankle is the sprain. Like the higher up you go, you involve more things. Like there's a covering between the two bones. It's called a syndesmosis. It's like a film that attaches the two bones together because they're like weirdly placed. So there's a covering that goes in the middle of it, kind of like DNA. You know what I'm talking about? That kind of like covers it.
Yeah.
So when you have a low regular ankle sprain, none of that gets affected. Those bones are staying together. When you have a high ankle sprain, you shift those bones and like you tear the syndesmosis. You can tear the things that connect the two bones together. So that's a big deal. That's why it's a bigger deal when you have a high ankle sprain. But you always get an MRI after a high ankle sprain to see how bad the high ankle sprain is. There's not like there's a grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, but we don't hear that when we hear it from the NFL. We just hear high ankle sprain. So that could be 2 weeks, that could be 3 weeks, that could be 2 months. So it's hard to say. It's always hard to say.
What's that medicine or that injection that you just mentioned starts with a T?
Toradol.
Toradol. So yeah, I was looking up on Toradol and it looks like it's like this injection that you put. It's like a painkiller, so they don't feel. And apparently, all of the NFL uses it at some point. But it didn't say that it was illegal. Like we
Right.
know the effects of it, but you can use it if you need to because it relieves the pain. But it seemed like he used it. He had 15 minutes. Maybe if he did, he was still kind of hobbled. So like leads me to conclude that like even if he's got tape and got Toradol, or, all that, he's still not going to be as mobile as he is next game. So I think
Yeah.
he's that high ankle sprain is definitely going to impact the way he plays, and he's going to have a more of a pocket presence than the scrambling Mahomes that we're used to, right?
100%. 100%.
And I guess the last thing about the injury specifically, when you're taking painkillers like that, the effects of that are temporary, right? Meaning that like eventually it wears off and then you have to like do it again. So being that like next week, he's not going to be 100% ready to play. He's not even going to be close. Is it going to be something where he's going to be having to take injections throughout the game? Is it something where, do you know if it's going to be like one injection pregame and he'll be good for the rest of the game? But how does he handle the rest of this week in terms of rehab? Is he having to constantly get injections to manage the pain? Or is it a full week of no injections and then they just inject him pregame so that he doesn't feel the pain during the game?
So these things can be given like every 4 hours, every 2 hours, every 6 hours, depending on the dose, every 12 hours. But very rarely do you give every 15 minutes, every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes. That's not really a thing. But again, what happens under the blue tent happens under the blue tent. It's just the reality of the situation. We've seen enough movies to be like, like what's going on here? It's true. A lot of this happens. A lot of players like Bill Romanowski, Tony Romo, he's come out and said like, oh, I had to get a Toradol shot in the back of my spine, or like one of the bones because he broke his spine during a game. So a lot of that, you're like, you shouldn't have done that. Not from the injection standpoint, but going back and playing standpoint. Like, you just broke a bone, dog. Like
You're in pain for a reason, right? Your body's
Yeah.
like telling you not to go rest, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So to answer your question, Sweetheart, I think he's going to get injections whenever he can't play. Like whenever he can't step on it and can't do the things he's supposed to do, they're going to do it. And there's also like skin epidermal patches. Like you can, fentanyl. It's a narcotic. It's a really good pain medication. So there's fentanyl patches you can just kind of slap on top of the ankle, and it kind of like makes it better. I hope they actually do this properly, like just rest, ice, elevate. But we're talking Super Bowl here, like the biggest thing. So they're going to do some, whatever they need to do. Again, not promoting any of that. I would never do that. But just,
it's a business. The league is a business and they're all about the money. Yeah. And I guess, obviously long term, the plan is he's playing because he's giving them the best chance to win. He's giving them the best chance to make it to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, which means their path is they're expecting to win this game. Mahomes is still going to be hurt. He's going to have a whole week off because they're going to have that off week. And then even for Super Bowl, that's another week that, again, I'm just trying to think about the amount of painkillers this motherfucker is going to have to take for the next 3 weeks if their plan is like he's going to be playing the Super Bowl and they end up winning that Super Bowl game, right? I mean, just imagine what that's going to be like. So hopefully for a generational, arguably the best quarterback of all time, that there's no lasting wearing effects that tarnishes his ability to like be normal again in the future.
Right. But if you think about it like this, it's either him or Chad Henne, right? So Patrick Mahomes with an injured ankle is Chad Henne, but still better. Yeah, so 1, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer at this point. Like there was no way he was not going to play this game.
Yeah, and what helps them as well is that they didn't have any sacks. Like they didn't allow any sacks. The offensive lineman did a good job. So they're gonna have to play, just as well they did against the Jaguars in order to protect Patrick Mahomes so that he can do the things and get to Kelsey and Juju and all the guys that they have.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, let's talk about the actual game itself, right? We talk about Mahomes. He was playing well before the injury, came back, did what he could. Like, I mean, it's you can visibly see it. It's as gutsy as it possibly can be when the guy literally can't even take 3 steps back and hand the football off to the running back without hobbling and only using one leg. Pacheco did well. He held his own. He ran hard, 12 carries, 95 yards. And he had that nice, breaking kind of, he was in the middle of the pack. There was nowhere to go. And then he broke it right for like 40 yards. That was a pivotal play in the game. Kelsey, man, kind of dwindled away, was on and off towards the end of the season. But when it mattered most, he was everywhere. I mean, 14 catches, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns, unbelievable performance for him. He just is slow as shit, but gets open all the time. And on the other side, I guess we talk about the Jaguars. I'm a little bit disappointed in their offense. I mean, Trevor Lawrence just never really quite could get into a rhythm. Threw for 217 through the air, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. They didn't run the ball as effectively as I would have liked against Kansas City, 10 for 62 and a touchdown for ETN. I mean, he ran it well, but he didn't run it enough, especially when, again, it is the Chiefs. So I don't know if they're under this adage that we have to keep throwing the football because they're a high flying offense and we need to keep up. But they were running the ball effectively, which I felt like they could have just done that more, slowed down the game and actually controlled the clock. So a little bit of weird stuff here and there. The big play where he threw that bomb to Kirk on that absolutely beautiful dot and Kirk drops it. That was a huge pivotal play. My God. And then Agnew fumbling in the red zone, another big mistake, right? So it's you look at the final score as a 7-point game. The Jags had plenty of opportunities, but they kind of shot themselves in the foot, and the opportunities they got, they didn't convert. 2 turnovers versus none, 2 for 3 in the red zone, which, any other game you could probably get away with, but when you're playing against an offense like the Chiefs, who are 3 for 3 in the red zone, you kind of have to convert every opportunity you can get. So there was just very, very small window of ability to mess up for the Jags, and I think they just made one too many mistakes.
And one thing, I'm just going to add one thing to this, and that's the 2 turnovers they had. They were both in the fourth quarter too. It's
Right.
not like
Yep.
they did it before Mahomes got hurt or during the Henny time. It was when Mahomes was already back, and now the Jaguars still had total control over this game. To be honest with you, they were driving the ball. It's just those 2 plays kind of just changed everything.
That was huge because right before that fumble that Jamal Agnew had, Trevor Lawrence had a first down. Like he ran for it, 10
That
yards.
ran, yeah,
It
that
was
run,
like a
yep.
great play, and he throws the ball in the slant. And Jamal Agnew, man, he should not have fumbled that ball. It was like basically like very minimal contact. So I thought that they still had a chance. And then that second interception kind of just was like trying to come back, throwing it deep, and just the better play on the defense side. But it's like I think about this, like where did the Jaguars go from here? They started 2-6. Like you didn't think that they were going to make the playoffs at the beginning of during like at the beginning of November. They're 2-6, but they were able to come back, make it to the divisional round. Kudos to them. I think that they've put themselves on the map, and now they need to make their pass defense better. They need to get some cornerbacks, maybe some receiving help as well, because I don't know if Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, I don't know if those guys can really be your crew that you go with on a week in week out basis. But I think that they're definitely a good team, and they should be back next year, at least in the playoffs, and the sky's the limit for this team.
Just devil's advocate play here. I'm not as strong about this team as you are right now. They play in the shittiest division in football, right? They're getting just this opportunistic play to even be in the postseason. What was the record? Like 9-7 or something like that, right? Like they just
9-8, I think, yeah.
9-8. So a lot of things had to work right. Trevor Lawrence made a lot of mistakes all season long. Things just kind of fell into place. And when push came to shove and it was playoff time, he didn't really show up for this game, as much as he should have. He had many opportunities. We even had Mahomes go out for the game. A lot of things are working, but we didn't see that bam factor. And I think, being in the AFC helps. You do look a little bit better because there's like 3 teams and everything else sucks. So it's really easy to like look at this, but from a holistic NFL standpoint, I don't think there's other NFC teams that could have taken their spot. If we're talking like whole league perspective, there are better teams out there. So I think from an opportunistic perspective, they did well. And I think you're right. Trevor Lawrence has all the tools to be better, but I'm not sitting here at the end of the season like, damn, can't wait to see what this guy's got next. I'm still a little skeptical. I'm like, like we saw some signs here and there, but we also saw like so many picks in the first quarter and like in the first half, and just a lot of things went wrong that you kind of want to see like a steady improvement towards greatness. And we're watching like this little, like it's like an upward climb, but it's like we're like, do I buy into it? Do I not? So let's see if there's big changes that happen this postseason to make his situation easier. But I still want to see more. I'm still not sold in this whole Trevor Lawrence being like at a par with Joe Burrow and all those guys. I think there's still like a lot of work to be done to even be better than David Carr, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think so. But what I see is like a step forward from the first half season as opposed to the second half. They did allow them to get into the playoffs, and I think you're right. He's not at the level that Joe Burrow is. I mean, not a lot of people are at that level. But I still think that there
Joe
is
Burrow's
potential.
creating his own level. We need to talk
Yeah.
a little bit more about that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I think you're right. He's not there yet, but certainly there's a possibility that he could be. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, agree with both sides. I mean, situationally, he's in a great spot. Again, he keeps getting better. Doug Peterson, I think, is the
Yeah.
best person that could possibly be the head coach for him. So I think that situation's amazing. And yeah, like you saw the Jags realize what they have, the potentially can have in Trevor Lawrence, and they spent all their money in the offseason, right? So like they are trying to make this work. So I think they're trying, which is obviously, something that a Bears fan this year couldn't say. So luckily the Bears are going to try next year, but they're taking steps. But you're right, Shisho. Do I is there something that I wish I could have seen from him to make me be like exactly what you said, which is like, damn, I can't wait for the Jag season next year, because that's how I felt about like Burrow. That's how I felt about Herbert. That's how I felt about Hurts. But heading into next year, I'm not like, man, I can't wait to see how Trevor Lawrence's season unfolds just quite yet, because like you said, there's been so much up and down. So another full off season, third year leap. That's the year leap that everybody makes. So you give him that benefit of the doubt, and then again, another year under Doug Peterson, we will see. But again, good for them. The Chiefs again gutted out. They win the game. Mahomes does his thing, and they will be in fifth straight AFC title game, which is unreal.
Since 2018, and the team before that was the Jaguars. So
what? Blake Bortles, who was also there. Case Keenum. God, good times. Feels like ages ago. Another NFL lifetime ago. All right, guys, let's kick it to the NFC game at night on Saturday. The New York Football Giants, they were riding high after 2 amazing victories against the Vikings in the last 3 games that they played, and they traveled to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. They were favored. Philadelphia was favored by 7.5 points, over under 48, and this was not a game. Philadelphia won 38-7. They covered the spread, under 48 cashes. This game was over within the first 4 possessions of the football game, right? Philly opening drive, just as easy as can be. Felt like the Vikings opening drive. I've seen this before, so it's like familiarity. I was like, wow, nice. 8 plays, 75 yards, 4 minutes, just right down the field, touchdown. I'm like, okay, well, I kind of expected this because the Giants defense isn't amazing, but what was giving me hope was seeing what I thought was improvement from the Giants offense over the last 3 to 4 weeks. But again, I think we were fooled. Even I will admit, to some extent, I was fooled, and I was a victim of the Minnesota Vikings defense, thinking that Daniel Jones and this offense and the receivers had somewhat improved, and maybe they had a chance to be in this game because of how much better they were getting. That wasn't the case. It was just the Minnesota Vikings defense syndrome. The Giants could not do anything. Philly was unreal on offense, unreal on defense. And again, that opening drive was followed by the Giants already sensing that there was pressure because they could not stop anything that they did that first possession. So on 4th down from Philly's 40-yard line, you could punt. You could punt and be like, you know what? We didn't get to field goal range. You could try to kick a field goal there, 58-yarder, but they said, fuck it. They went for it, and Daniel Jones gets sacked. Philly turns around, short field touchdown. And I mean, at that point, I'm like, this game is over.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I agree, man. You were big on Daniel Jones from a fantasy football perspective because he made those great plays with his legs and got you like 25 points sometimes, 21, more than most. What did he end up with? Was he ranked like 8th overall?
He was top 8, I think.
Something crazy like that, right? So very successful from that standpoint. But dude, at no point did I ever trust this man, and you could just see right through him. Like we talked about that stat last week, how the 2 of his best games were against the Vikings. Bro, that's enough evidence for me to know. After watching all these other games where he's just, running the ball, handing the ball off a lot, there was nothing about this that screamed, oh my God, can't wait to see Daniel Jones put up a fight with Jalen Hurts and that high-powered offense and defense. It's very easy for me. For me, the Cinderella season is over. Clock struck 12, and he turned into the pumpkin that he always was. So, the key here isn't he a free agent or something like that this year, or is he?
He's playing. Yeah, they have to either franchise tag him or sign him. Essentially.
Right. So I'm wondering if they're going to try to see if there's another fit somewhere else, and maybe try to move up in the draft with a bunch of quarterbacks available. I don't know, because from my perspective, we have seen everything we need to see from Daniel Jones. It was really entertaining to see that he can make plays with his legs, and it was really hopeful to give him this opportunity to make this late season run and hope for this passing attack to work out, but it just never clicked. And when push came to shove and a big ass stage like this one really did nothing. So at this point, you have to reevaluate your QB situation. My run game works, my defense is doing its thing. What's lacking here? Is it my lack of wide receivers? Very well possible. Very, very possible there. They literally have the worst receiving core in the NFL. So
besides the Bears.
So that's I would actually take the Bears receiving core, to be honest with you. At this point, they have Cole Kmet at least. Anyways, that's another conversation for another day. But that works in his favor because there really are no receivers. But from a playmaking / pocket presence quarterback, literally is what takes you this far. Daniel Jones just banks on his run. That's all he does. That's just a given. It's a run-first offense, and even the quarterback is in a run-first mode. So at this point, I'm not I don't want this man as my future quarterback. If I want to win a Super Bowl, I don't see it happening in with the legs of Daniel Jones. So have the Giants seen enough? Have the Giants realize this and they're like, damn, we need to go find ourselves a possible Burrow, Mahomes, Hurts. Like, is it time? Is it time we do that? Or because it'd be perfect to rebuild it from your quarterback perspective and your wide receiver perspective, rather than get big draft picks from your wide receivers and still have this lingering issue with Jones, because Jones is not your Super Bowl winning quarterback. So yeah, that's my take. That's my take on this whole thing. It sucks because I had this like, damn, like let's see what could happen. And we've never seen a run first quarterback kind of make it all the way to the Super Bowl. And it was kind of exciting to see this happen after beating the Vikings. But now I'm like, shit, like fool me once, fool me twice. But at the end of the day, like you need a legit passing quarterback to take you that far.
Yeah, I think so. In terms of this Daniel Jones situation, like I don't think Brian Dable even knows what he's going to do with Daniel Jones, right? Like, are they going to pay because he's a B-rated quarterback that is probably going to get A-rated money just because quarterbacks do that. They get a lot of money now, so he's going to be expensive. But they're losing a lot of other people too. So they're losing Saquon's a free agent, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Richie James. These guys are all free agents, but another thing that was hurting, we talked about receivers, their offensive lineman is terrible as well. Like Evan Neal, who they got as a first round pick, he wasn't like, remember last week we talked about like the one of the worst grades in PFF as well. So
Yeah.
he's not getting the protection that he needs either. The one thing that the Giants have going for them is they have the third most cap like available to go out and get players, right? So with that being said, if you make your offensive line better. Like if you don't have Daniel Jones, like who are you going to go with? Right? Are you going to go get a Derek Carr? Like, are you really going to bank on and hope that you can get someone from the draft? It's a tough position to be with. I think that you kind of have to ride with Daniel Jones. This is Brian Dable's first year. He brought this out of Daniel Jones, and with a better offensive lineman and some better players, you hope that you can do better, because the alternative, there is really no alternative that you can feel secure about, right? And you're in the NFC East. You're in a division where the pass rush for the Cowboys and for the Eagles are so good, right? You
And the
got
Commanders.
and the Commanders. You got, and on the Eagles side, you got Hassan Riddick, Josh Sweat. They both had 1.5 sacks. The whole team had total of 5 sacks this
Mhm.
game. So you had, and then you saw pressure, like the interception that Daniel Jones had. If he hadn't thrown that, he's gonna get sacked, right? So so it's one of those situations where like the offensive line is not helping out either. So I would say that work on that. Try to get receivers before you say quits to Daniel Jones. But I mean, it certainly makes sense. You're right. It's a fourth year, and it is time. But you just got to be able to compete with the defenses that these other teams have. And I just don't think that the offensive line for the Giants are going to be able to do that if they continue with the same core that they have right now.
Yeah, valid points. I agree. I agree with the offensive line thing. Obviously, you got to have an offensive line. Just mediocrity is the killer of all
Yeah.
dreams. Like either I think the Giants know that they suck this year. I think the Giants are very well aware that they should have never made it this far. So just thinking like, is it better to pull the cord and just kind of like start fresh now while you have all this money and could revamp some things, or ride another year of mediocrity knowing that it's just not going to be enough? It's pretty obvious, man. There's teams out there, the three teams that are in right now in the championship game in their respective divisions, 3 out of the 4 have been here last year, right? It's the same 3 teams. And the only thing that changed was the Titans and the Eagles, right? Um, right? Am I correct with that?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's a lot of thinking in a short amount of time. I can't think.
So it's just 3 out of the 4 teams right now in this situation are the same 3 teams that were here last year. So these are the powerhouses. It's pretty established now. Like Joe Burrow is here to stay. Mahomes is not going anywhere. Hurts has a solid team and he's a great quarterback. And now you have this 49ers juggernaut of an offensive and defensive thing. What do all of these teams have in common? It's a complete team. Except for the Chiefs, but they have the greatest quarterback of all time, so they don't count. They're the outlier here. But look at the 49ers. Complete team, offense and defense. Look at the Eagles, offense and defense. Look at the Bengals, right? We never talk about the Bengals defense, but they got a defense, right? So at the end of the day, all season long, we hype up all these players. We hype up all this, what could happen, what happens. Look at the situation now. You need this this complete team to get this far. And I think the Giants are very well aware their team is nowhere close from an offensive standpoint because they don't have a passing game. So you're right. Maybe the offensive line revamping can just fix all of it. I would hope so, just for their own sake. And I have a lot of friends here who are Giants fans. It'd be nice for that to work out. But I just have this hunch, man, and this type of feeling just kind of always sticks. And it's not something that you just kind of make an educated guess. It's like watching repetitive football over and over, and it just gets grilled into you. And it's in my brain now that Daniel Jones just can't do it. I think it's time to either maybe do it in a different setting. Maybe the Ravens get rid of Lamar and he goes there and runs that offense and runs it really well. Maybe, who knows? But I think right now, with the amount of money they have, and if they can ship Golladay one way or another, whatever the situation with Golladay is, they create more cap with Golladay somehow. They're in a prime position right now with all this money to just start over fresh, to get a Derek Carr even. I know this is the third time I've mentioned Derek Carr, but it's just because he's so cheap right now and it's just available wide. But yeah, for me, it's a factory reset time. I think this is when I would hit factory reset, but I get your argument.
Yeah, no, and reeling it back to the game, right? You're right in terms of the complete team, because their defense didn't do shit either. Adoree Jackson hadn't played the first 2 games against the Eagles, so you're like, okay, maybe he can stop Devontae Smith, but he wasn't able to. He looked terrible out there, right? And their pass defense, 268 yards total rushing by the Eagles, total, that is just some unstoppable running that the Eagles did. So they're the complete team.
Gainwell led the
over
game
100 yards. Exactly.
Garbage time yard Gainwell.
Yeah.
They blew him out. Yeah.
I mean, the ability to even have a garbage time guy run for 100 yards, it's just they're just toying at this point.
Right. They doubled the Giants in first downs, 26 first downs for the Eagles, 13 for the Giants. I mean, it was just all Eagles, and there was just no way that the Giants were going to stop them. And last thing I want to say is you kept mentioning the Vikings. It's so funny because the last time that the Eagles were in the NFC Championship, they played the Vikings, and the score was also the exact same score, 38-7, and that now they're in the NFC Championship. So just so much eerie,
weird stuff,
comparisons going on there.
All right, I'll wrap up with this Daniel Jones talk. So my thoughts on Daniel Jones. The one of the biggest reasons to move on from a quarterback that's young is, in my opinion, is they can't protect the football, right? If they don't offer you above average arm, or if they don't offer you mobility, but they also turn the football over. Taylor Heineke, right? He kind of runs. He doesn't have a great arm, but then he also forces mistakes. If you protected the football, you could be a poor man's Alex Smith.
Gotta go.
But Daniel Jones, ironically, protects the football. He throws very few interceptions, and for a guy that is run first, he fumbles the ball very seldomly. So here's my thoughts on Daniel Jones. He's not you're not going to look at him and be like, this is the next, great quarterback. He's just not. He unfortunately is not. But the reason why I think they keep him is because we thought the same thing about Josh Allen, and Brian Daboll turned that guy around within an off season, right? He went from a guy that couldn't even throw a complete pass because his accuracy was so bad to being, obviously he has his flaws still, but you know what I mean? So that is why. And lastly, we always talk about offensive line. That's great, but they do have an all pro already left tackle. So, Thomas is insane, even though Neal
the best now.
Yeah. Neal will be good, I think, because it's just going to take him a little bit of time, but I think he will be good. So there will be bookends there. Saquon's a free agent. You don't pay Saquon. I'm sorry. He's great. He probably wants to be back in New York, but if the Giants are serious about rebuilding, you don't pay a running back. You just don't. Get rid of him. Use that cap towards the defense. And then the last thing I'll say is, you just said, Shasho, you would take the Bears receiving core over the Giants receiving core. We have had numerous conversations this year about Justin Fields, and we want that guy to get receivers so bad so we can truly see what that guy can do. And I'm over here Daniel Jones is nowhere near as physically and athletically gifted as Justin Fields. But again, for all of the shitting we did on his supporting cast, somehow this team still made it to the divisional round, right? It was a fluke. Same with us, right? All those stupid amounts of wins. But at some point, that's not luck. We talked about it. 11 one-score games, 8 come from behind victories. It's not luck. We had flaws, but it's not luck. So similar, why I'm this is a guy that's running an offense that has one amazing tackle, one shit show, has no receivers, and has Saquon Barkley. So they kind of have to be a run-first offense anyways. And going back to this game, we what you said is what I wanted him to do, but he only ran the ball like 6 times this whole game. So I'm like, the thing that got you here, your 17 carries against the Vikings. And again, I know it's their defense, but it's not like there weren't opportunities. I just felt like they went down so quickly right away that all of a sudden 9 carries for Saquon for the whole game. That's atrocious. So for him to have 9 carries, for Daniel Jones to have 6 carries in a run first offense, this team was like behind the 8 ball, reverse game scripted within like 6 minutes of the football game. They had no chance. So again, I hear both of your guys' arguments. I don't think Daniel Jones is going to be the next superstar or anything. I just also think because of what he did and because he just protects the football and can run the ball with his legs, it does warrant the possibility to give it a look with actual receivers that can get open one-on-one and maybe a little bit of a better offensive line. So again, it could go both ways. It'll be interesting to see what they decide to do. But they are in that weird teeter-totter position, right? Do you pay the 2 players that kind of got like are your staples, Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, or do you not pay the running back because you don't pay running backs? And if Daniel Jones isn't good enough, do you not pay him? And then in that instance, it is a complete like remake overhaul everything. And do you think Daboll maybe doesn't want to do that in his second year as a head coach? He probably wants to try to build what he already established this year. So again, so many which ways to look at it. All great points. Final score, 38-7. The Eagles just fucking kick some ass. See you later, Giants. It was fun for you guys. But again, Philly is in the NFC Championship again. What else is new? They are high flying. I mean, before we talk so much about the Giants and we need to get to the next game, but what do you guys think Philadelphia's weakness is? I mean, we should probably get Saunders on here so he can just, talk a bunch of shit about things that like don't exist, but truly break down for me, like where can a team exploit this defense or stop this offense? Because right now, like Philadelphia seems virtually unstoppable to me.
They are. I haven't seen a team this strong in a very long time. I can't even like compare this team to another team that I remember having 2 of the top 5 corners from a numerical standpoint on the same team. Last time a team like that was the Jaguars with Ramsey and the other dude. What's his name?
AJ Bouye.
AJ Bouye looked like God at that point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They made it the AFC Championship game. So, and that's just because of that defense. But now there's Jalen Hurts on the other side compared to Blake Bortles. And we're talking 2 of the best. This is the best wide receiving duo in the NFL, like plain bar none. Like I think it's up there. It's right there with
it's them and the Bengals. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I will give Higgins there, but I will still put Higgins slightly below Skinny Batman, just from a less injured and just like, Higgins is great, but
all around game for sure. I hear you.
Skinny Batman's got some next level shit up his alley as well. But yeah, Eagles team, dude, we said it like 2 months ago. We said it 3 months ago. This offensive line is next level. This running situation is next level. This quarterback is next level. The wide receivers are next level. The cornerbacks are next level. The defensive line are next level. So the weakness, there's safety who got hurt. Madden, he got hurt and he hasn't been back. And maybe since then, maybe some of their numbers are a little lower in that area of the field, possibly. Maddox, sorry.
Maddox.
Outside of that, impenetrable. And there's only one team that could possibly bring them down, and it's the 49ers. It's going to be a great day.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they're that good that I don't even think the 49ers have a chance. I think we saw Brock Purdy, and we'll talk about that in the preview episode, but you're right. They look like a complete team. The only way is maybe if you stop that defensive line, that front, and that will, not cause so much of the turnovers and things like that, but it's easier said than done. And I just don't see a lot of teams being able to stop them. So I agree. They are an unstoppable force.
Number one way a team chooses to disrupt the other team is sending pass rush. You send pass rush with one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the league with 2 of the best wide receivers in the league. That's not going to end well. So, we'll see. We'll see what the 49ers have in store.
All right, let's take it to Sunday. The Bengals and the Bills. This matchup we were waiting for. All of America was waiting for. Obviously, the first matchup postponed due to the Hamlin stuff. This game, again, the script was writing itself. Mahomes versus Allen 2.0, but it's Allen versus Burrow. Are we going to see a shootout? It's in Buffalo. You turn it on, you see some snow. You're like, okay, got the vibes ready. This is going to be a great game. And what happens? The Buffalo Bills get the shit on. They get their shit kicked in at home in Buffalo. The Cincinnati Bengals came understood how disrespected they were getting from Vegas, from the fact that the NFL schedule makers were already planning this neutral site game in
Yeah.
Atlanta for the Buffalo Bills and Chiefs. Talking about again how all these weaknesses. Obviously, Buffalo has the story, the magic, the Hamlin stuff, everything. They have the camaraderie, blah blah blah. And Cincinnati felt disrespected, and this is one of the few times where a team came in, felt that disrespected, and played like they felt that disrespected. 27-10, they absolutely dominate this game. They cover the 5.5-point dog spread, win the game outright, under 48 cashes. And similar game script where the first 4 possessions of this game went identical to the first 4 possessions of the Giants-Eagles game. But the caveat here is you had Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills at home being down 14-0, right? So it wasn't like we were like, that's game over. I was sitting there with Shovit fourth quarter. I was like, still a game, because you have Josh Allen, you have that high-flying offense. It's not Daniel Jones and the Giants. So this game wasn't over, or didn't feel over, but in reality, it was over. Like, it was absolutely over, because you saw those first 2 drives by Cincinnati. I mean, they moved the ball down the field at will. Tre'Davious White didn't matter. Jordan Poyer didn't matter. Matt Milano didn't matter. All these great defensive players that had outstanding seasons. I mean, Jamar Chase was wide open on his touchdown pass. I mean, Joe Burrow was getting no pass rush. Like, it was so easy for him for those first 2 scores. And again, I think the game at that point was already out of hand, and Buffalo couldn't quite get into it.
Joe Burrow started off 9 for 9 for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns on those 2 drives, by the way. And you can just tell when the game starts, you can just tell this game is over. Like, from the perspective of, like, Burrow was just on it. He was just on it. He was on fire. He was making all the reads, getting time to throw. That's why he couldn't win the Super Bowl last year, right? Getting, like, sacked 9 times, or getting hit 9 times, or something crazy like that. Doesn't look like it's going to happen this year. They figured their problem out, and they're giving probably, am I going to say it? Am I doing this right now? But the best young quarterback in the league, the best future quarterback in the league. Right. It's pretty set there now. Josh Allen had his time. Unfortunately, there was a guy named Patrick Mahomes in that era. And then other players come, other players go. There's always names we throw out every year, like, oh my God, Dak Prescott, look at his 5 touchdown day. Like players come, players go. But Joe Cool, man, like the coolest person on the planet right now. Is there anybody cooler? Is there anybody cooler?
No. I have a man crush on Joe Burrow so hard. I would give anything for that guy to be the quarterback of my favorite football team. I mean, again, that is everything you would want in a quarterback, in a franchise quarterback. Like, again, like, I don't know, man. I'm like at a loss of words, because Shovit, you and I in the preview episode were like, why is Cincinnati getting 6
underdogs?
points?
Yeah.
6-point underdogs, not just underdogs.
Yeah.
6
points. Because of the snow. I think it's because of the snow.
I mean, dude, they had all the momentum, and they had, again, we talk about their defense. They go under the radar. They were incredible. They were so good. Their defensive backs, the secondary, they shut down the receiving core. Josh Allen was running around and nobody was running open. I mean, it was total domination. It was complete domination. Every time you thought Buffalo had a chance to get back in the game, they were going 3 and out, or Josh Allen threw an interception, or, something was happening. They just could not get any momentum. And, Cincinnati literally did what we talk about. We want our favorite teams to do, is like, when you're up, continue to play that way. And at no point did they take their foot off the gas. They really, really were, truly disrespected, and they played like it.
Yeah. Joe Burrow is elite. One of the best throws that he made wasn't
even a touchdown.
Wasn't a touchdown. It got it, Jamar Chase wasn't able to hang on to it, but that was a dot, like with the safety up top, and then the cornerback guarding.
I think the linebacker maybe, or in the middle, or a cornerback,
That was such a great throw, and he's on another level. Like, we talk about Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow. I think that Joe Burrow's had more opportunities to prove it, and he steps up, whereas Justin Herbert has not. But man, I thought the Bills defense was the biggest poo poo of this game.
Like what the hell? Yeah.
And I think that part of it is because they lose Von Miller, right? And there's no edge rush that can actually come and try to stop Joe Burrow or put some pressures on. They only had 1 sack. A team that has 9 sacks against the Titans last year. Remember, in the same time, they weren't able to stop him. No Micah Hyde, so Jaquan Johnson is playing. And I don't know if you guys remember that play, but with Hayden Hurst, 6'6", 6'5" guy, jumps over 5'10" Jaquan Johnson to get that first down. It's just no contest, and they just had better the offense was so good for the Bengals. Joe Mixon, 105 yards, like 172 yards as a team. Like Bills had no way to stop them, and it was a terrible game for the Bills. It sucks because I'm sure the NFL wanted it. It's funny because NFL probably wanted the Falcons the game to be in Atlanta just to get like their to see how it would be for a neutral site. They don't get it, and refunds are going to be sent out to all those people. So, but yeah, Bengals deserve it more. They should have been favored, and they come and capitalize for sure.
Yeah, I agree, man. 5 playoff wins over his first 2 seasons. 5 playoff wins already for Joe Burrow, right? Bengals had 5 playoff wins, 5 playoff games during 53 years of their existence. This man just came in and said, "Watch this." Right?
It can happen. It gives me hope as a Vikings fan that it can happen.
It'll only happen once you draft a young quarterback. It won't happen.
Yeah. 100%.
But so check out this analogy. So it's a Pokemon analogy, right? So Aaron Rodgers is Bulbasaur. All right.
Bulbasaur.
Tom Brady in the Patriots days is Squirtle because it's blue.
Squirtle.
And then I'll put Patrick Mahomes there. He's the fire type, okay, because red. You know how that goes.
Charmander.
So now the Typhlosion era comes into play. The Cyndaquil.
Oh, I love
that. Is Joe Burrow. Wow. That is Joe Burrow. All right. And then what else? We got Chikorita.
Chikorita's fucking Justin Herbert, man. Just hurry the fuck up and grow up here.
Justin Herbert, I put him as the water type because of the baby blue jerseys.
Then I honestly would put maybe Jalen Hurts as the baby blue. Is Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts is too reserved to be Chikorita.
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't going by personality type. I was going straight jersey colors.
Oh, just straight color. It's okay. Okay.
That's a great analogy. He's not level 100 Typhlosion yet. I think he might be when he gets a Super Bowl.
If Joe Burrow wins a Super Bowl this year, level 100 Typhlosion.
Just gonna go from 72 to 100. Yeah, well deserved though.
Yeah,
I'm acting like he already won it. It's not well deserved yet.
No. I mean, again, Josh Allen, no touchdown passes, threw an interception. He only ran the ball. He ran the ball 8 times for only 26 yards and had that quarterback sneak for a touchdown. Buffalo had similar fate. I mean, I know they're not a run first team, but they also were out of the game so quickly that Singletary and Cook combined for 11 carries and only 37 rushing yards, right? Again, as great as your quarterback is, as great as your offense can be, if you have no run game, it's so much easier for the defense. It's fucking pretty easy to understand, right? Yeah. If you're just refusing to run the football, then the defense is going to keep playing pass defense. It's pretty basic. So they just didn't. They just did not run the football because they were like, oh shit, 14-0. It's the game over. We have to throw the football every single time. Knox was their receiving leading man, 5 for 65. Diggs only had 4 for 35, had that big tantrum, tweeted it out, all this stuff. He hates losing. I get it. I respect it. Maybe there's a better way to go about it. Just leaving the locker room, right after the game. It's just, I don't know.
I always miss him during the season. And then at the end of the season, I'm like, oh yeah,
he does this shit. Yeah.
He does this shit. I'm not so sad he's gone.
They all probably hated losing, man, but they didn't all just, walk back to the locker room and immediately leave right away. Shit. Be with your brothers and embrace the loss.
Sure.
Sure. See what Eli Apple was saying? Eli Apple was tweeting a lot of stuff about this Diggs thing. He's like, maybe Diggs and
he deserves to. Eli Apple can talk the talk because he got shit on so much for getting burnt in the past and stuff, all this crap. This was a mismatch. Diggs should own him. And for Diggs to have 4 for 35 and Eli Apple is the last man standing here. Talk your talk, boy. Talk your talk.
Yeah. And he was saying that they need to go to, couples therapy and things like that. He was going off, man. Eli Apple having a day after.
Yeah, he's always doing his. No one. That's why. I mean, there's a reason people don't really like him, right? It's because he talks his talk a lot. But there's still one more game left. 2 more games, I guess.
There is. So Bengals win this one in Buffalo, 27-10. Again, a lot of question marks for the Bills. The last thing I wanted to say, which I forgot, but now I just remembered, this is 2 straight years in the divisional round where Buffalo came in with one of the top ranked defenses that literally could not stop the other team. Last year against Kansas City, 42 points, could not stop. They didn't stop them a single time. This year against Cincinnati, cannot stop them, right? So is this just a Bills defense chokes in the playoffs? Is the Bills defense taking advantage of easier matchups in the regular season with the Jets' horrendous offense, with Skylar Thompson because Tua was hurt? Situationally, are the Bills' defense getting masked by regular season performance? But the minute they play an elite quarterback in the playoffs, They don't do anything. They can't stop. They look like the Minnesota Vikings defense at that point, right? If you can't stop anybody, you're no different than the 31st ranked defense. So to come into the playoffs as one of the top ranked defenses for back-to-back seasons, have the hardest matchup of the season, kind of like your life on the line there. And what does your defense do? They literally don't do anything. So that's definitely something to watch in the offseason. Defensive coordinator situation, I don't know all that, but somebody's got to point the fingers. It's not just 1 year, it's 2 years in a row now that their defense just didn't show up. All right, let's end the episode with the last game of the weekend, the Dallas Cowboys. Shovit, you talked about it. We were watching this game together. They were traveling to San Francisco to take on the 49ers, and Big Cock Brock favored by 4 points. Over under was at 46. This was a defensive battle. Final score 19-12. The 49ers win the game, cover the spread, under 46 cashes. Where do you guys want to start? I want you guys can take this because I did a lot of my talk.
I'm going to start backwards, and
Okay.
I'm going to mention that this is the second year in a row the Cowboys ended the game by calling some of the stupidest plays I have ever seen in football. Okay, last year with no timeouts, 14 seconds left, they called a QB draw. Okay, that was a.
Oh my god! Thank you for reminding me of that because I forgot about that. Oh, that was so stupid.
That's what they did last year, and you're like, this year, there's obviously it can't get any worse.
Hold my beer.
They got worse. I tried to rationalize myself to figure out why they did that, and I came to a conclusion. Right? I'm like, okay, all right, I guess I kind of get it. Just make every player on the field athletic so they can catch a ball and score a touchdown. Okay, that's all I could come up with. And the only way you can do that is put your strongest person in that category and make him be the center. And some guy, some idiot, some coach that gets paid millions, not just make shit up like I am on the go. Some coach that gets paid millions was like, that's a great idea, son. Let's add that to our final play. Yeehaw. That was some of the stupidest shit I've ever seen. He got ran over. The worst defensive tackle in football could have ran him over, right?
Bro.
So
a quarterback could have ran him over. It was Ezekiel Elliott. Why the fuck was he blocking? Why was he the center?
Why didn't he roll out? Why didn't you create more time? The whole point is time.
I don't get how formations work real quick. Are they allowed to have 10 receivers on the field and then everybody's eligible to catch a pass? I thought there was a rule where you can't do that.
As long as they're on the line of scrimmage. And then they have to tell the referee before the snap that they're not eligible.
Wow. So you can have 10 eligible men and just a quarterback, like straight up flag football?
I don't think all 10 of them are eligible. I think you have to tell the ref that they're ineligible, but then the other team has to know that information, and maybe there was hoping for some miscommunication from the safety's end. Because
if you do that, then that's exactly what you saw what happened to Zeke, right? You can line up as much as you want, but the pass rush is going to come you and just demolish you. So.
Yeah. That's why that's why I was like, okay, it's not a bad play call as long as Dak rolls out. Because you're going to die. What do you and you're not going to get the ball past the line of scrimmage. I don't understand. I do get it from a confusion standpoint because the whole country's confused. So it worked. Congratulations, Cowboys. But I don't think the defense, even as confused as the defense was, it didn't get the job done because it didn't work. The play didn't work. So I'm like, what kind of play call is this? I'm done.
So when I was in 7th grade, I got a story for you guys. When I was in 7th grade, I signed up for the football
I love
team.
these stories. Yeah, here we go.
So I signed up for the football team, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to play football, right? And the day comes where you look at the sheet where you see what position you have to play and, where you're at. I was on the C team as a center. So if you guys know, it's what I if you know me. And I said,
"Oh fucking
no way!
You weren't even 50 pounds, and they had you at center.
Wasn't even 50 pounds. I don't even know if I was 5 foot at that time. But they had me at center, and I said, hell no! I left because I didn't want what happened to Zeke happen to me because that guy was trucked. He stood no chance. It's no chance whatsoever. And I feel for him, but he's got a bigger body, so But yeah, it was. I had to leave. I wasn't gonna play center. No way.
Dude, that is hilarious. They put you at center? My God.
Was he ever planning on putting pads on your body, or was it just for entertainment? Were all the coaches just in the back oh, let's take that one guy, that brown guy, let's make him our center, let's see what he does?
It's like that one show. What is that show where the three guys do stupid
Oh,
things?
Crank Yankers? No,
No, not that, not that.
Impractical Jokers.
Impractical Jokers. It was like, all right, now get this 4 foot, 40 pound brown kid and line him up at center and see what happens. Like, what in the world?
Yeah,
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. And you're right. That is a great parallel in comparison to the Zeke situation because it just didn't make sense. And let's rewind back. How did we get here? How did we get to this
yeah,
situation? We got here because the Cowboys offense just could not do anything. And let's start with the guy that deserves some blame here. Brett Maher missed another extra point. The only extra point he kicked this game after missing 4 last game. He gets his first one blocked, but then still makes 2 field goals, a 25-yarder and a 43-yarder. So at this point, extra points, just not his thing. I don't know if teams can afford to have 2 kickers. One guy kicks the extra point, one guy kicks the field goal. Sorry, you're going to have to get paid half the salary if you want to be that guy. So figure your shit out. That's just atrocious. But I get it. It's mental. But the credit for the Cowboys is their defense. Their defense, my biggest fear was how the hell do you stop the 49ers? Because they have 65 weapons, all of which they can use in every which way possible. And credit and kudos to Dan Quinn. Amazing game plan, did a really good job containing the run, did a really good job of not letting Purdy roll out the right. Show. Remember when we talked about how why the hell does he keep rolling out left? And then that same game at half, he made an adjustment and he just kept rolling out right and everything was great. Show it. You and I noticed this game, he kept rolling out left. He kept doing that same shit again. And you putting yourself in a disadvantageous situation to throw the football. And that wasn't working for them. And obviously, they have Trent Williams, and that was kind of going to be the guy that stops Micah Parsons. But DeMarcus Lawrence had a sack on the other side, which we said they could take advantage of, right? So the Cowboys pretty much did. Their defense held ground. They stood strong. They played a phenomenal game. Brock Purdy had no touchdown passes, and he hadn't gone a single start without throwing less than 2. So there was a ton of credit for this defense. But where they faltered was their lack of offense. And Tony Pollard, horrible injury. He had a high ankle sprain and broke his left leg. Same, like I've never even heard of that. You sprained your high ankle and also broke your left leg. So, I mean, he's out for season and it's going to be a long recovery for him.
Remember that small film I was talking about between the two bones? That shit toe up to the point where the force couldn't even be held by just that, and it broke the bone that was connected to it.
I think that's the X factor here, right? You know that Zeke is not performing well. We looked at the lines for Pollard versus Zeke. Zeke was like over 36 total yards, and Pollard had 77. So like the game script is to give to Pollard. And once Pollard is out, slow Zeke, he's not going to feed anymore. He's not that guy. And having to rely on Dak Prescott to throw you the ball while that pass rush is coming in, he got 2 interceptions. And it's funny, like that defense, like everybody knew the ball was going to come to either CeeDee Lamb or I think it was Noah Brown. That was the one that was targeted for the first time. So it's like you just can't win with Dak. You just can't. And it's going to be interesting where the Cowboys go from here because we talk about mediocrity. Like that is Dak Prescott in a nutshell. And that's going to get you to the championship, like divisional round. But from there, moving forward, when you have injuries to Tony Pollard, DeMarcus Lawrence also got hurt at one point as well. Like that's not going to allow you to win the game. And 49ers, not that they played great offense, but just the fact that they were able to get that one touchdown. George Kittle had that pass that was like
juggled catch,
and Diggs could have tackled him to try to stop him from getting that catch.
Just like his brother got whiffed on. It was like the same kind of whiff.
Not a good weekend for the Diggs family. The household probably in shambles. Like, damn.
Right? And that's the play that led them to CMC's touchdown. That's the only touchdown that the 49ers had. And it's things like that, you bend or break, or that's not really, but they give a lot of yards, but then they come up with interceptions. They go for the home run kill. And that's kind of hurt that will hurt them down the line. And
if he made that tackle, he's not catching that ball. He was still in the process of like, if he just held on to the guy's leg, he's not catching that ball. So, yeah.
That's a bad one, man. And I hope, Diggs homers, Cowboys homers, people that like protect him like he's their son, see that like, he's been a interception merchant basically. His coverage is not great when there's protection, he's not covering well and he can't tackle. Like that's not a new thing for Trayvon Diggs. He whiffs on a lot of tackles. So and all he had to do, like you said, showed if he just uses his body to like nudge that guy, it totally throws off the trajectory and he probably doesn't catch that football. So again, kudos to Kittle for having that awareness and
and for being Kittle to be scared of getting hit. Like people are scared of hitting him. So You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're right. I don't think Dak's the guy. Dak is going to lead you to exactly this. Great regular seasons, one and done in the playoffs. And he had a great defense. His defense performed. So there's no excuse. The offense just did not step up. They had chances. They kept when Ray McLeod fumbles that punt
Oh
and
yeah.
they start the drive at the 21-yard line down 6-9, right? 6-9, 21-yard line. I think that was in the third quarter maybe. They had a chance to take a lead. They couldn't do anything. They kicked a field goal. They tied the game. And then very next drive, San Francisco goes down with like a 7-minute touchdown drive, and that's the game, right? So there's opportunities there to be taken. And when everything is not working, you have CeeDee Lamb. He had a great game, 10 for 117. We've seen what Dalton Schultz can do. We've seen Gallup step up at times. We've seen Noah Brown step up at times. You losing Pollard hurts. But again, at no point is a football game for 60 minutes just going to be ideal situation for you. And for Dak, who's getting paid, again, a fuck ton of money now to be the guy. I mean, some of his throws were off. Like, he wasn't making good decisions. It just was not a good game for him. And again, this seems to be the theme for Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
I think that sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say it reminds me of the leading interception thrower in the league.
Josh Allen.
Yeah. So there's going to be some comparisons here in the next year if Josh Allen again kind of has a bad game in the playoffs.
I just think that Dak Prescott has the ability to be good. Like his throws are some of the deep bombs are pretty impressive, right?
You're an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Right.
Some of
But
it will be good, though.
There's
right.
Go ahead.
My thing is that, like, when the pressure comes your way, how you react to that pressure is going to make you elite. And that's what Dak Prescott lacks. Like, he can be accurate. If he has protection, yeah, great. But then when that pressure comes in, are you able to evade the pocket? Are you able to throw on the run? Things like that. And that's when the interceptions happen. And you're looking at one guy and only looking at him. I think that's what the problem for Dak Prescott is. But I think that the Cowboys as a whole organization, we talked about all the other teams, right? The Cowboys free agencies, right? Let me list them out for you. The notable ones, right? So Tony Pollard, Dalton Schultz, Leighton Vander Esch, Terrence Steeler, who's their right tackle, Anthony Brown, and their safety Donovan Wilson, who led the team in tackles, right? So those are all free agents that they're having that will be looking for money, looking to get paid this year. And then Mike McCarthy, I think he's going to stay, but Dan Quinn is interviewing with the Colts. And
coach,
their defense coordinator as a head coach, and Keelan Moore is interviewing for the Panthers job as a head coach. So this Dallas Cowboys, like, this was their season. This was where they were hoping that they could make that push and finally get to a Super Bowl. And this is like what their 11th loss in the divisional round in the playoffs or something like that. So it's not looking good for the Cowboys' future moving forward.
I figured it out. Right when you were saying that, I figured it out. This is what they're doing. They're going to trade Dak Prescott to, you heard it here first, the only playbook. I'm just breaking this news because this is exactly what's happening. They're going to trade Dak Prescott to the New Orleans Saints and get Sean Payton. Mike McCarthy is gone. And they are going to they're either going to get Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, or they're going to draft a quarterback. But Dak era in Dallas, if they're going to get Sean Payton, is over. Dak Prescott is going to be a Saint, and Sean Payton is going to be the Dallas Cowboys head coach.
That would be the best case scenario for the Cowboys, in my opinion. I thought you almost went the Vikings route for Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott for a second.
No,
I was like, whoa, where's this
Why would
going?
we downgrade?
Why would I want Dak?
Everything you said Dak can't do, you were like, he needs to sit in the pocket, throw accurate passes, not just look at one guy. And I'm like, who can look at a lot of guys and have the 9th greatest season for a quarterback as far as spreading the ball goes? I was like, who takes pressure really well, gets hit and throws accurate passes? I'm like, yeah, we're not downgrading to Dak Prescott. Get out of here.
Yeah, I think he's interviewing for the Denver Broncos, though, so I don't know if they'll be able to persuade and
I don't. Why the fuck would he want to go there? Like, do you want to go coach Russell Wilson while he dwindles down his? I don't know. That doesn't seem like an appealing place for him to go, but maybe. I just think this makes the most sense in Dallas.
He got a second interview there though in Denver.
Yeah,
and,
could happen. Could happen.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't come to Dallas. Just don't do it.
Yeah. It's weird because Dak literally is a mobile. He's like if we just talked about Dak and Kirk, right? Just imagine if Kirk had Dak's ability to be mobile. So when he already has that, and he doesn't have the basic quarterback stuff, the accuracy, the timing, like reading the defense, like the athleticism doesn't matter, right? Like we
No,
said,
and you're
you have to be able
dangerous.
to do the first part to be able to use the second part to your advantage. And
Yeah.
right now, he's just not consistently even using the first part. He had us fooled in the first round, right? He had us fooled, Dak. 5 touchdowns, game of your life. But it was against Tampa Bay, and they were atrocious. And you look at this performance, and you're just like, this is Dak. Like when Dak gets to the playoffs, when the Cowboys get to the playoffs, Cowboys fans, neutral fans, Cowboys haters, all are expecting the same outcome. And it's that Dak is going to make sure that they don't win the football game. And that's just continuing to be what happens. That's it. Cowboys are out. 49ers are in again. They have a third string rookie, 7th round. You've heard it everywhere. Irrelevant quarterback, and they're still in the championship round next week. Those are the games. We are done with the recap. Let's talk about some guys that deserve to be talked about a little bit more. Let's hand out some awards. Let's do some brownie points here. I will kick us off with my first award. My first award is, well, they built the wall.
This has got to be a defensive build,
Or it's a racist
offensive
Nick
line.
Bosa joke.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm going the racist route.
I'm gonna say it's the Bengals offensive line.
It's a great guess. That's just a great guess by you. But, context clues, seeing that my next brownie points also relate to the Bengals, maybe you would have been like, you can't be double dipping on the
Yeah,
Bengals.
but you did
Can
say you have a
I don't
man
wanna cheat your
crush
next
on
one.
Joe Burrow, so I mean,
That's true. That's true. God damn it, Shisho with the devil's advocate. All right, my Built a Wall award goes to the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. Those 4 dudes combined for 5 sacks. Hassan Reddick was an amazing get for the Eagles. And Shisho, you talked about the cornerbacks. It's not like they have defensive line that masks the cornerbacks or cornerbacks that mask the defensive line. They have both. They literally have both. There is very, very few ways that this defense can get beaten, and they literally built the wall. And, their run game, their run defense may not be as strong as their ability to, pass rush and defend the pass. But when your offense can't get stopped and you continually score points, you force the opposing offense to be like, hey, we can't run the football as much because we got to keep up with these fucks. Otherwise, we're screwed. And that's just a mindset game. And even next week against a team that is going to run first, that is a run first team in the 49ers, I don't know that how the 49ers defense, despite how good they are with the pass rush and everything, are going to stop this offense, which means Brock Purdy is going to have to drop back and throw the football
like
35 to 40 times. And that's going to be going a lot to big play Slay and James Bradbury. So give me this wall that the Eagles have built. The Eagles, when Jordan, and they still have Jordan Davis. They still have Jordan Davis, who's not even in the rotation right now. They signed Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph. So, they just have linemen for days on the defensive front.
Wait, why is Jordan Davis not in the rotation right now?
I don't think he's fully 100% yet. He came back and still kind of hobbly, etc. And he's young. And, when Fletcher Cox is there and he's still a fucking stud, it just, you have the luxury to rotate this rookie in and let him learn. So, again, it's an amazing situation for them. The Eagles have truly built a wall with their defensive line, and it's paying dividends for them.
Cool. For me, my award is called It's a Woozy. It's a Wazzy. It's a big, obvious.
It's the Giants. It's obviously the Giants. It's obviously the Giants,
man. If there's one thing I know, it's that the Giants were never going to make it anywhere. It was too easy. It's like, I wish there was a bet that you could. Were there bets where you could be like, all right, this team is definitely not going to win Super Bowl. I'll put $1,000 on it.
Yeah, they probably would have been the worst odds, and it probably would have been bad odds.
Like, no, there's no way. There's no way. It's just anyway. Yeah, you got it. It's the Giants.
My award name is going to be the Houdini Award. This goes to a guy. Any ideas?
I mean, Patrick Mahomes would be obvious, but he got hurt, came back.
No. His last reaction earlier.
I know you guys are probably thinking quarterback because escape artist, but this guy is actually joins Hall of Famer Randy Moss as the only player in NFL history with at least 3,000 receiving yards and 25 touchdowns in the first 2 seasons.
AJ Brown.
Playoffs. AJ Brown didn't have a touchdown this week, but it is. Any guesses?
Devontae Smith.
It's not. It is Jamar Chase, who ends the game with 5 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown. But he's just a escape artist, man. He's able to, he gets the first touchdown last game and just able to do things that the defensive backs won't have any answer for. So gives him the Houdini Award.
Nice.
Well deserved. Well deserved. All right. My brownie points are going to another set of defenders because It's just been all defense. It's been all defense. And my brownie points go to the defensive backs of the Cincinnati Bengals, Mike Hilton, Cam Taylor-Britt, and Eli Apple. Eli Apple has done no shortage of talking his shit in the past, even when he was bad, when he was just getting his shit kicked in. He was still talking his shit. That's just who he is. And now he's actually backed that talk with a fantastic performance from this Cincinnati Bengals defensive backfield against Diggs, Davis, McKenzie, Knox, Beasley, you name it. Those offensive weapons for the Buffalo Bills. Again, Cam Taylor-Britt's a rookie. Third-round rookie out of Nebraska. He was a stud there. That's why I know a little bit about him. But again, not known for being a great coverage cornerback, right? That's the one thing he struggled in. But Mike Hilton, Cam Taylor, and Eli Apple, a lot of like 50-50 balls where they were going up and they were, breaking that shit. But really just aggressive. They stayed aggressive. They knew that they had the ability to get attacked on, but I think they capitalized by just remaining aggressive. And again, you kind of live and die with being aggressive in the snow. It works in your favor with the weather and everything. And Josh Allen being erratic at times, throwing interceptions, again, it pays off to be aggressive. So these defensive backs deserve some mentioning. They did fantastic. They held the Buffalo Bills to only 10 points and Josh Allen to have one of his worst games as a quarterback. So they get my brownie points.
Yeah, that's good. Kudos to Eli Apple, man. Remember the Super Bowl last year against the Rams where he like dropped that wide open interception that didn't allow him to come back. So he's got a lot to prove, and he's proven it so far.
He's on the redemption tour.
Yeah.
It's the Eli Apple redemption tour. That's why the Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl.
Wow.
You heard it here.
They probably are going to win the Super Bowl, though. Let's be honest. Like it's
destiny. They're a team of destiny.
Yeah. Before we talk more about it, I got some breaking news. So if the Jets were to get Aaron Rodgers, Joe Namath says he will unretire his number 12 jersey and give it to Aaron Rodgers.
What the fuck? I don't even know. Did Joe Namath came out and said that? Yeah, I feel like he wouldn't have just done that if there's not more truth to this rumor.
Other stuff about the Jets where the owner said that he was willing to give the 2 first-round picks for maybe this year, next year for Aaron Rodgers, and it's all now up to Aaron Rodgers whether he wants to go to New York or not.
Does he have a no trade clause probably or what? He's not a free agent, right? Or is he a free agent again? God, his contract's.
He's not.
No, he's under contract. Yeah, he's under. They should sign an extension or big one, like 2 year, 3. Yeah. So great breaking news. What's your award?
Okay. It's not bronze. It's not silver.
But
it's Robbie Gould. 4 for 4. 4 for 4 and a 50-yarder when your offense couldn't do shit. He put the team on his back. Kicked these field goals. A Minnesotan could never. Okay? Could never. So
Brett Maher could never.
By default, man. By default, I love kickers, and I think they deserve every ounce of these type of awards when they can get it, because 4 for 4 in a close game when you win by 6 points is a big deal, and came in clutch. Always been clutch. This man's just been legendary. NFC North, and they're producing elite kickers, just never ends.
Kickers need love to hang.
Yeah, they do get disrespected because it's like one of the few jobs where you can be great 90% of the time, and then your one missed kick, you're like, cut him, he sucks
forever.
Yeah.
Nice. Kudos to Robbie Gould. All right, my game award is going to go to the San Francisco 49ers defense that were able to stop the Dallas Cowboys and their offense and force 2 interceptions on Dak Prescott. Here's a quote from Fred Warner. He said, "The formation that came out in was a look where I think the corners knew that the ball was going to either one of them. It was just a 2-man route concept. So they knew what was happening. And it makes me sus about Keelan Moore as he's going on to head coach. His journey and whether or not he'll make a good coach or not is in question. But nonetheless, kudos to 49ers, able to come out with the win, and their defense helped them out a lot this game.
A lot of good defensive performances, man. A lot of our awards were defensive emphasis, which, are we back to the defense wins championships era?
I think
it felt like it was all offense for like the last 3 or 4 years.
If Patrick Mahomes can't win this game against the Bengals with just his offense, it's back to defense. At least some defense wins championship.
Yeah, gotta give them their due.
Yeah.
That's it, guys. That is the episode. My God, 4 games, and we still can just never stop talking. It was such great action, amazing football. Truly enjoyed it, even though some of the games were not as close as I would have liked to see. But it's building up for, again, I think as NFL fans, the 4 best teams in football are the 4 best teams remaining. So it is a great time to be an NFL fan. And championship weekend, we all get to fucking sit together and watch that together. That is what's got me so giddy and excited. I can't wait for this weekend and so much football and everything else and all other crap. But any final words as we officially sign off?
I'm calling dibs Nexus on this. That's all I'm saying. Watching the Eagles game.
Dude. I legit want to buy a Jalen Hurts jersey or shirt and just wear that for Sunday. Like I'm rooting for the Eagles. I could see myself getting a Jalen Hurts or a Joe Burrow shirt and then just becoming a fucking big fan because it's just such an exciting time to have emotional stake in the game. And I just, I would love to see a Eagles Bengals Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Agreed. What's your ideal Super Bowl matchup?
Yeah, Eagles Bengals for me.
Eagles Bengals. Yeah. Nobody wants to see Big Cock Brock. Like, cool story, bro.
I don't want to see one-legged Mahomes. I don't want to see one-legged Mahomes and no defense. And then, Brock Purdy's just not going to do it. I'm sorry, Brock. We might just record this and paste it all over the internet once he becomes the Super Bowl champion. But it's not happening this year. It's just not. Too many good teams.
Bengals, Eagles. Final answer.
Give me Eagles and Chiefs, too. Why not? Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, you get 3 weeks to heal, 2 weeks to heal after this game, right? So, I still
there's no defense. Same thing as last year, no defense and one less leg.
How is Patrick Mahomes and the Eagles no defense going to stop Jalen Hurts' offense? Though, they're just not.
Tuned. We are about to find out in the Super Bowl potentially.
Oh baby, that is it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're the Only Playbook. Sweet Car show of it. Thank you guys for all the support. We will see you guys on Friday when we preview the championship round, and we do that together.